Hello, everyone. This is Todd Middle Initial C. Walker, the host of the Wispy Mop Music Acoustic Radio podcast series. And this is part 2 of my conversation with Rick Landers, the publisher of Guitar International magazine. He's also an accomplished singer-songwriter, and now he's an author of children's books. The reason I'm introducing the show this way is yesterday, during our second part, we had a power outage here in the studio, and I lost part of the audio on my Rode Podcaster Pro SD card. So you're going to hear the camera mic instead of the Rode Podcaster Pro for most of this segment. But the Rodecaster Pro audio will kick in later. You'll really know the difference. But first, let's hear a song by Rick Landers.
You've been crying. Is there something that I should know about? And you've been crying. You're screaming and shouting. I'm beginning to doubt. Like a roller coaster. I'll hang on. With all my love will allow. Do you remember when I gave you my heart? This diamond ring we shared a moment. Now you're telling me that it don't mean a damn thing. Let's take our chances with the ups and downs. It's a rocky road. We'll do this dance till we're old. No happy ending, no happy ending in sight. We talk in circles, we just can't get it right. To make you smile, well, I'll do everything you want me to do. I'd walk a mile in your tiny shoes. So let's take a chance with the ups and downs. It's a rocky road, we'll do this dance. Smile. I'll love you forever and today and when I dream. You beg me to stay, and when we dance, we'll dance this night away. It's a roller coaster, and it's a rocky road.
Welcome back to the Wispy Mop Acoustic Radio podcast series. I'm your host, Todd Middle Initial C. Walker. Yes, that's right, it's me. And we're back with Rick Landers, who is the publisher of
Guitar International magazine.
I don't know why I have trouble with that.
I don't know.
Now, we were chatting about writing songs when we left the first episode.
Yes.
But I mentioned green guitars. That's my green guitar back there.
Yes.
And for those of you watching, green is spelled G-R-U-E-N-E, so it looks like Gruen.
Correct.
And that's the way most people pronounce it, but it's actually green. And the reason I own that guitar is because of this gentleman right here. And we were chatting, I don't know if we were chatting by phone or by email, and you said, Todd, you really need to check out green guitars.
Yeah, that's probably.
Because they're, the quality is excellent, and their prices right now are really, really good, and they're going to get popular, and the prices are going to go way up. So you need, and you had your OM30 or something?
Yes, I had an OM30 at the time, yeah.
So how did you find out about green guitars?
I was scooting around eBay, and which I do often. Not so much now because I got plenty of guitars, although there's always
There's always one more.
There's always one more out there. And so I don't have a line on one quite yet. Yeah, so I was screwing around eBay and just checking out guitars like I always do. And I discovered this OM30, which was all solid wood, and it was Indian rosewood back and sides, and it had a Sitka spruce top, and the price was pretty amazing. It also had natural abalone inlay, and it had the inlay that I liked. It wasn't real gaudy like the big bulky things you see on some guitar necks. And so it was like $800. I'm thinking it should cost a lot more than that. And so I was a little skeptical, but I figured, well, I guess I can afford to lose $800 if it's okay. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up paying $900 at the end for shipping. It didn't come with a case. And I got the guitar and loved the guitar, great guitar. And so I sent a note to the seller, and he said that he actually was the owner of Green Guitars, which I didn't know. And so we became friends over time. We started talking to each other usually once a week, and that kind of died down as I got busier with the recording. And I've got a songwriter circle I started. I've got a writer circle I started with some well-known folks, pretty well-known folks, and nice folks. And so we ended up just becoming friends. And then I let him know that I had ordered a Koa guitar, which was a 12-fretter, which I really like 12-fretters.
Which is the one you brought with you today.
That's correct, yeah. I had an LOO from 1930, Gibson from 1931 that I liked. I hadn't found that it wasn't playing it much, so I traded that for another guitar, but I wanted another 12-fretter. So then I wanted a Koa. Well, the Koa that I hadn't been built, that ended up not happening, and a very disappointing situation, but who knows. And so John Byers, who owned Green Guitars, I let him know. He goes, "Oh, I can build you one of those." So he said, "What do you want?" I said, "12-fretter. I'd like to have the torch on the top, which usually comes with this top-end guitars, and I wanted natural abalone in a different configuration, and I wanted smaller fret markers, not big bulky ones." And so he built me a 00038. Sent it to me, and so he got me that, and he then he sent me another, and I reviewed it, even though the plan was to purchase it, and I guess I still owe him money for it. He said he'd send me an invoice, he never did. And then he sent me a D18 style guitar, with Honduran mahogany. And the top is North Italian spruce top, which is a great wood. Both are great woods. And so I got that, but I found I wasn't playing it much because I've got a 1946 J45 Gibson. It's been beat up, but that tends to be the guitar I go to, that and the Koa. And so I told him I didn't want it and that I would sell it for him, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to sell the guitar. But the Greens are great guitars, and they're all solid wood. All natural abalone. John has since passed away a few weeks ago, very sadly, and so I'll be working with his son Jim at Green Guitars, and hopefully we'll make sure the legacy of John is presented very kindly. John is a nice man.
Now, did you ever get the chance to interview him for the magazine?
I did not. We talked about it, but I don't think we recorded an interview. It's possible, but I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But the plan was to do that. So the plan is also interview you for the magazine.
Oh my gosh,
it'd be fun to do.
You know, it's funny. Someone said to me when I first maybe I was 30 episodes into the audio version of the podcast, and they said, "Well, you're always interviewing everybody else. Can I interview you?" And I went, "Oh, no. I'm much better on this side."
Well, we'll work with something. I also have done email interviews with some folks. We could do that if that's more comfortable for you.
No, I'm actually very fine. I just don't shut up.
We'll work it. Well, sometimes I don't either. As you know from my first interview, I'm like, yeah.
Well, besides guitars, you're also not just a writer for your magazine.
Correct.
But you have just published a book.
Yes, I've actually written 3 children's books, a series. The first book has been published. It needs a couple of revisions. I've got a proof copy. It needs some revisions, so I'm going to change those probably this week and send it off and get it uploaded again to Amazon, all the Barnes & Noble. It's already there. but because we found a couple of nitnoid issues with it, we're going to fix it. We want it to be as perfect as possible. And so it's called The Adventures of Digit and Tess, and it's in ebook, softbound, and it's in hardbound copies at this point. And it's about a young Canadian girl who's named Tess after Nikola Tesla. Her last name is Hopper, named after Admiral Grace Hopper, who they're both in the the Inventors Hall of Fame. And I actually met Grace Hopper and escorted her once years ago. And she's been in 2020 and a few others, but she's since passed away. So anyway, so yeah, so the book's about Tess, but it's also a cat named after my own cat named Digit that my wife named. And Digit is an AI robotic cat. And so the story's about how they become friends, and initially how they have issues because the cat is very independent and has to learn to adjust to dealing with a human. So that's the first book. The undercurrent of that book, the theme, is electricity. The second book's theme, they'll be in Paris on an adventure, and flight will be the theme. And the third one is about music, and they will go to different various music spots in the country: Navajo Territory, Memphis for Stax Records, surf music, Bakersfield, Seattle, whatever. And they'll move around the country. And then at the back of each of those books, there's a thing called Digifacts. And on Digifacts, there's trivia, facts, other information related to the story. And so I note the page number, and then adults who are reading the books to children or older siblings can also learn and enjoy learning from the book as well, the books.
So how did writing a children's book come about?
I wrote a poem called Digit the Cat and presented that in front of some well-known writer at a writer's workshop. And there was like a contest to see if they could get somebody, whoever won that little thing, get them in front of a publisher. I didn't win that. A person who actually had their book ready to go won that and said they were going to be introduced to a publisher. Mine was called Digit the Cat. And later, after that contest was over, I was walking around, it was like book sales and stuff. Oh.
Ah.
Oh.
We are now back. We had a little power outage, and everything just dropped away there for a split second. And we were talking about your book, and you have the digits in the back or something?
Yeah, we've got Digifacts in the back of each of the books. There's only one book published at this point, but there will be 3, hopefully more. And in Digifacts, it's a series of information, trivia, and facts that will be more relatable to adults or older readers. And so the folks who are reading the books really a picture book, to children at a younger age who maybe not be readers yet or they're just starting to learn, the adults and the older readers will be able to also get information and learn about electricity, flight, and the third book is about music, and there will be facts and trivia about all those things in the back of each one of those books. And so that tends to be different. I was hoping to get everything linked up electronically in the book, but apparently that's not doable at this point. But hopefully in the future you'll be able to click on a page and go directly to those facts related to the story. So yeah, so I'm pretty excited about.
And I don't know how much we lost during the power outage, but I had asked you about how you came about to write the book, and it had something to do with a poem.
Yes, I was in a contest, and I had the initial book. I had kind of formatted it out, so I presented that to 2 really fine writer workshop seminarians, and so they liked that okay, but there was somebody else who had a book all ready to go, and whoever won that, and I think there were 5 or 6 people who were presenting, and that one person who had the book ready to go they won the opportunity to be introduced to a well-known publisher. So I didn't win that, but as I was walking around all the different books for sale, it was a book sale type of a situation, the one fella came up to me who was who handled the workshop. He said, "That book will sell." I said, "Oh," he said, He's never heard of a robotic cat. Well, since that time, there's a couple of robotic cats out there. It took a long time to get the illustrations completed. But he said, that book will sell. It's a great idea with a robotic cat, blah, blah, blah. And so from there, I decided I would continue, and I finished the book, and then found an illustrator from Northern Michigan, John Monger. He's a great illustrator. And so he and I are now working on revising the first book a little bit. It's got a couple of little errors, and then we'll start working on the second and third books.
So how do you divide your time between Guitar International, the magazine, writing songs and recording music and then playing live and writing a children's book, plus having a normal life in addition to that? How do you split your time up?
I just kind of go by whim and how I feel about what I want to do when I want to do it. So I'll get to the magazine when I can. That can be hard because a regular interview, a normal interview, takes about 20 hours of work overall to get right, because you got to get the photos, you got to get sometimes YouTube videos, integrate those, get everything formatted right. So that takes quite a bit of time. So I've got to really watch what I'm doing with doing those. And then writing songs, I wake up early in the morning, or I'm up late at night and I'm noodling around, or in the afternoon. Whenever I pick up my guitar, which is several times a day, I'll poke around. And part of that is going over songs I've written to make sure that when I get in front of an audience that I'm not going to go blank, which I think it happens to all of us.
It does happen to all of us.
It does. And it's happened to me a couple of times. And or the chord changes. So I'm like, oh, I got to quickly move to the right chord. And so that changes that. So you have to really, well, I'll tell you, John McCutcheon, who's a great singer-songwriter, told our workshop group that it takes 10,000 times playing a song before you really have it cold.
Yeah.
I suspect he meant maybe 5,000 times, but he gave you that knowing that you might do 5,000 or you might do 1,000, and that's enough. But he said 10,000 times, which I've heard before. So that's another thing. Writing the book, I already kind of have them. I kind of wrote those pretty fast about 5 years ago. And so they've been kind of sitting there, and then I edit them when I can to make sure that they're updated. And the trivia in the back takes some time. And so I just find a couple hours and I just drill into it. And I don't really think about the clock too much. I'm retired. And then I've got a writers group with H.P. Newquist, who is one of the top writers in the country. And he's got 40-something books out. He's got two, in 2018, he had 2 on the top STEM list, top 25. So he's a friend of mine. He also started the National Guitar Museum and was the editor for Guitar for the Practicing Musician back in the 90s. So I've got, he's part of that writers group. I do that as well. That's only once a month. I Zoom it with 4 other writers. And then I started about 3 months ago, I started a singer-songwriters group. And I've got Jim Fowler from Northern Virginia, Joe Shade, who's a remarkable singer-songwriter, and then Sherry Stewart, who's played with Jeff Smith, and she's won some gold awards for writing music. So, and then Ron Goad, my friend Ron Goad is also in the group, and he does some pretty remarkable stuff. He will take poems by Shakespeare, and he'll convert them to songs, and they're really, really good. So I'm just amazed at his talent, along with his ability to assemble so many people and know so many people. And he's won 7 Washington Area Music Awards for being the best promoter in the area, and so he's just like the Energizer Bunny. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of it.
So how is it that you have met all these people? Do you actually reach out to them? You hear about them, they find you, or is it just pure happenstance?
Most of the time, you mean my groups or the
anybody, like the people you interview. Some of the people you interview for the magazine are famous people, or many
yes.
of them.
Yes.
So
yes,
I'm sure you have to reach out to them. But
sometimes, yeah.
It seems like you have this universe around you of accomplished people that the normal person, someone like me, would not know.
That's probably true. I've been involved in music since I was 6 years old. That's the first time I sang on radio. Little Sir Echo and Bingo. And my mother and I played with my class, and I was apparently the loudest one there. So I think this has been ingrained in me. Sometimes you'll have their publicists come to you and they say, hey, this person is open for interviews at this point in time because they want to promote something. Mm-hmm. And if I have time and I think there'll be some payback, or I think they deserve to have some, they may not be famous, but they may they're so good, they deserve to have some recognition. When I have time, I'll interview them. I've known some of the publicists for 20 years now. One is Caroline Galloway, who owns M2M Publicity, and so she's got me interviews with Slash and Les Paul, and she's been remarkable. She's remarkable. And she used to be the head of, I think she was the head of Gibson Guitars publicity a few years ago, and then she went off on her own. She's very successful, and she's a wonderful person. And so publicists will sometimes come to me, and then there will be people that I really want to interview, and I will go, I'll either go to them direct if I can, or I'll go to their publicist. And so I've done that quite a bit as well. So it kind of works both ways. And then local people that I meet that I think are really well deserving. There's Jillian Matundan, who's excellent. And so I interviewed her, Yasmin Williams, before she became famous. Now she's playing with the Indigo Girls and Tommy Emmanuel. There's a fellow named Dave Kawika Feely who plays Hawaiian music. It's just really beautiful music. And he's a good friend of mine. And I've played at least one host concert with him. And he and I are buddies. And God, you have Jeff Smith, a few other people I've interviewed locally. That Bob Melissino's from Shenandoah Run. I interviewed him, and he was real happy with the interview. So really kind of depends, but it's a mix. I've been very lucky, and the site looks good. It says international.
Yes.
But I'm a guy working in my basement. So.
Now, what would be your top 2 interviews?
Ooh, that's hard. I like certain interviews for certain reasons. Les Paul, obviously, because he's Les Paul, I was able to secure 2 interviews and meet him twice. And those were long interviews. I interviewed his son, Rusty, as well after Les passed away. I would have to say I'm really pleased that I was able to interview Jimmy Webb as a singer-songwriter. He's actually a very good singer, which I didn't know. And he and I found that I'm from Detroit, so I know cars as well as guitars. And he owned a Cobra, a specially made Cobra by Carroll Shelby, and it was like a monster car. So we started talking cars as well. And so it's a long interview, but it's a fun interview, and a really, really humble, nice fella. I enjoyed Jose Feliciano. He was very interesting as well. But Slash is fun. Slash's wife, Perla Hudson, got more traffic than anybody.
Really?
Mostly because I think she's Brazilian. So Brazilians, there were like a lot, like 3,000 views a day for months and months. So and she was a lot of fun. She's a hoot. So and then Caroline Galloway got me that interview. Caroline's the one who was with M2M PR.
So what is in the future for Rick Landers?
Wow. Well, I may decide to stop doing Guitar International. I am talking to John Byer's son I will be talking to him about taking it over. I've also thought about giving it to a college or university to see if they could use it in their journalism and music schools so that people not only learn how to give interviews, but how to do interviews. So those are 2 possibilities. I've been doing it for about 21 years now, and I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
I've interviewed almost everybody I went to. There may be a couple more that I'd do, but I'd do it for the next person as well, the next honor. So that'll be in my future. Music, I should have an album out by, I think, late August or September, and maybe 2 EPs as well, one from done in Nashville, and then 2 done. The album will be done here at Bias Studios, and they're great. Working with a guy named Nick Jones. He's a great engineer. And let's see, what else? And then my wife's retired, so I've got a lot of work to do at home. She just retired a couple weeks ago, Terry. And she's a real go-getter, and I'm like, I got to play guitar. She said, no, you got to clean the garage. So, it gets down to real life versus, these dreams we have. Now, I'm not looking to get famous or anything. I'm hoping that somebody will cover my songs and they're well known, and right. Or they end up in commercials or TV or some of those, more than performing. I actually prefer writing songs than performing. Performing's fine, but I really like when you get to a phrase that just is so, at least I feel, is unique, and it's like, oh, that's a great. How'd I do that? I don't know, and so that's the joy. So I'll keep playing guitar, and for myself or for others. But I'm really happy that I'm able to get some albums out and have that kind of a legacy. So when I die, they'll probably end up in a land, what do you call it, landfill. But
well, do you have grandkids?
I have we have no children. I married when I was 40, and she was 30 something, and so she had already kind of raised her own siblings, because her father passed away, and so she did a lot of the uplifting, and so she was ready to, and I said, whatever you want to do, I'll do. So
no, because the reason that we chatted off camera about recording and
yeah,
I decided at the age I am, I better do it now, because I don't know how much longer I'll have a voice.
Well, that's true too, yeah.
But I also thought, well, it'd be great as when I'm no longer around, for my grandkids. I only have one right at the moment.
Sure.
To know who their granddad was. And then I started thinking about it. It's like, they'll probably go, oh, yeah, that's just something my granddad did.
Yeah, the old music. Yeah. Well, you never know. You never know. Don't. They could be very proud.
Well, hopefully so.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you'll inspire them to do something, maybe not in music, but inspire them to go for it.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope the power outage didn't kill everything we did.
Well, if not, I can come back. We're not too far away.
If we have to, we will. But
all right.
You folks, thank you so much for watching, and catch the next episode of the Wispy Mop Music Acoustic Radio Podcast Series. We do this both video and audio, and also some of my gear reviews. This gentleman does reviews and puts them in his magazine. I do reviews and put them on YouTube. Yep. How about that?
Yeah. Well, you stick them on the magazine if you like.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Todd.
Oh, you're welcome.
Smoke my last cigarette. It's not quite burned out yet.